Do you know who you are as a nurse? I mean, like, truly, have you taken a second to ask yourself, who am I as a nurse? How do I show up? By the way, I love this lip gloss. It's from alll. It's their Glow Reviver lip oil. I literally have it in like 1,000 colors. But anyway, you have not begun the truest process into thriving as a nurse if you haven't stopped to ask yourself how you show up. Because if you don't know who you are, if you haven't reflected on your strengths, if you haven't reflected on the areas that you need to be improved on, beyond that, if you don't even know how you show up, then you won't be able to leverage those things in order to improve the experience that you're having. And if you're not having a good experience, I can almost guarantee you your patients are not having a good experience, and your colleagues won't have a great experience with you. So you really need to ask yourself as a new nurse, who am I? Starting with, what type of learner am I? Do you even know? Because your new nurse journey is filled with learning new things. You're being bombarded with new information every single shift, and likely that information is more complex than the information that you've learned in school. So now you are constantly intaking and you have no idea what to do with it. So you should be first asking yourself, what type of learner am I? How do I like to learn? What do I need to learn? And am I able to communicate that to the person who's teaching it to me? Because if you're in orientation and you're unable to communicate your learning style, then you're not going to have an optimal experience. So it's like someone's going to be throwing something at you and you won't be able to catch it because that's not how you like to receive things. And so you really have to know what type of learner you are and be able to communicate that. Also, I want you to also be able to know, like, how do I know when I'm upset? How do I know when I'm overwhelmed? How do I know, what does it feel like in my body when I'm anxious? What does it feel like in my body when I need to resource myself? What does it feel like when I'm scared? What does it feel like when I'm intimidated? What does it feel like when there's too much happening for me to continue to take any more in, right? Like, you have to know those things about yourself in order to be able to show up as the best and most effective nurse possible. So my first step for you would be asking yourself, who am I? What are my habits? Am I someone who is doing things ahead of the schedule, or am I a procrastinator? Because sometimes being a procrastinator is not going to work in this profession. You have to have vision for what could happen with your patients. You have to have vision enough to know, okay, I have a lot of free time right now, but in any given second, that free time could be gone and now I'm behind. So you have to know within yourself, am I a procrastinator? Because if I'm a procrastinator, naturally, this isn't going to work in this setting, right? You have to ask yourself, am I type A or am I type B? Because there are some moments that require you to be rigid, and there are other moments that require you to flow. Like when interacting and collaborating with your patients, there are some moments where it's appropriate for you to be rigid, but there are other moments where it is appropriate for you to flow. But if you find discomfort in the flow, you're gonna feel the resistance build up in your body and you're not gonna know what to do with it. But if you are aware, like, I'm a rigid person and it makes me really uncomfortable that I want to give my patient this medication at 7 on the dot and they want to take it at 8, right? If it's Colace, flow, right? But if it's an antihypertensive and they are approaching a crisis, then maybe not flow. So you have to be able to know those things about yourself and be able to attune to those things about yourself in order to be able to show up and leverage those things in a way that's going to optimize your experience. And this is just the beginning of the tips that I have. I can go much further in, and I actually think I'm going to go much further in with you guys, but we'll start here. Take a second to start really asking yourself and taking inventory of who you are and how you show up as a nurse.